here's what I tell everyone. I was born by God's dear grace in an extraordinary place where the stars and stripes and the eagle fly.
Wow! God bless the great state of Alabama. Let me say something. Isn't Heidi going to make an extraordinary First Lady of the United States? She is beautiful. She's brilliant. She's an amazing mom. She's an amazing businesswoman. She's got lousy eyesight. But she is my best friend in the whole world. And I love you, sweetheart. And I want to thank my friend, Congressman Mo Brooks. Thank you for being such a stalwart fighter. And I want to thank the men and women of Alabama for sending Mo Brooks to represent you in Congress. Look, we had Mo here today, yesterday, down in Daphne. Senator Jeff Sessions came out. You know, it starts to make you think there's something in the water down here. State of Alabama knows how to produce fighters. And I want to say thank you on behalf of hundreds of millions of Americans for sending people like Mo Brooks and Jeff Sessions who stand and fight for conservative principles in the Constitution every day, no matter the price. You know, Mo and I spent a good chunk of this week up in Washington, D.C. So it is great to be back in America. So how many of y'all watched the Democratic presidential debate last night? Wow, I'm sorry. Well, for the rest of you, you joined hundreds of millions of people in America who didn't either. Now, I will say, Tuesday in Vegas, we had kind of a quiet little evening. How incredible is it that we have got such a tremendous array of young, talented, dynamic Republican candidates for president? And what a contrast with the Democrats. You know, I think their first debate consisted of Hillary and the Chipotle clerk. Well, no. Actually, that's not fair. That's not fair. We can't forget about Bernie Sanders. So now the Democratic field consists of a wild-eyed socialist with ideas that are dangerous for America and the world, and Bernie Sanders. And have you noticed the times they're scheduling these Democratic debates? Seems like they have them at 2 in the morning on Saturday and they air them on Alaska PBS. It's almost like they don't want anyone to watch them. Which, if you were a Democrat, you could understand why. But I do have good news. They have announced the location of the next Democratic debate. It's going to be hosted at Leavenworth. They wanted to make it easier for Hillary to attend. all of us are here today because America is in crisis. This is not a typical time in politics. We are bankrupting our kids and grandkids. Our constitutional rights are under assault each and every day. And America has receded from leadership in the world, and it is making the world a much more dangerous place. And yet I'm here this afternoon with a word of hope and encouragement and exhortation. All across the state of Alabama, all across this country, people are waking up. There is an awakening, and there is a spirit of revival that is sweeping this country. And so I want to tell you today, help is on the way. So I want to ask everyone here to look forward. Look forward to January 2017. If I am elected president, let me tell you what I intend to do on the first day in office. The first thing I intend to do on the first day in office is rescind every single illegal and unconstitutional executive action taken by this president. President Obama likes to say he's got a phone and he's got a pen. Well, you live by the pen, you die by the pen. And my pen has got an eraser. But sadly, the corruption has not been limited just to the White House. It is extended across every federal agency in the government. The second thing I intend to do on the first day in office is instruct the U.S. Department of Justice to open an investigation into Planned Parenthood and these horrible videos. The administration of justice should be blind to party or ideology. The only fidelity at the Department of Justice should be to the laws and the Constitution of the United States. The third thing I intend to do on the first day in office is instruct the Department of Justice and the IRS and every other federal agency that the persecution of religious liberty ends today. That means that every serviceman and woman has the right to seek out and worship God Almighty with all of our hearts, minds, and souls, and their superior officer has nothing to say about it. That means that the Little Sisters of the Poor, a Catholic charity right now that the Obama administration is persecuting, will find that the case against them has been dismissed. The fourth thing I intend to do on the first day in office is rip to shreds this catastrophic Iranian nuclear deal. The single greatest national security threat facing this country is the threat of a nuclear Iran. And we need a commander-in-chief who will stand up and say unequivocally, under no circumstances will the nation of Iran, led by a theocratic Ayatollah who chants death to America, under no circumstances will Iran ever be allowed to acquire a nuclear weapon. The fifth thing I intend to do on the first day in office is begin the process of moving the American embassy in Israel to Jerusalem, the once and eternal capital of Israel. Now, you know, a lot of presidential candidates, both Democrats and Republicans, have made that exact same promise. And yet, inevitably, when they get to the White House, they don't do it. Because what happens is their team comes to them and they say, you know, if we do this, it's going to make other folks in the Middle East really, really unhappy with us. Well, if you hadn't noticed, they're already pretty unhappy with us. And the single biggest difference between me and the other very fine men and women standing on that debate stage is that with me, when I tell you I'm going to do something, I'm going to do exactly what I said I would do. So that's day one. There are 365 days in a year, 4 years in a presidential term, and 4 years in a second term. By the end of 8 years, there are going to be a whole lot of newspaper reporters and editors and journalists that have checked themselves into therapy. In the days that follow, I will go to Congress and we will repeal every word of Obamacare. We'll pass common sense health care reform that makes health insurance personal and portable and affordable and keeps government from getting in between us and our doctors. In the days that follow, I will instruct the U.S. Department of Education, which should be abolished, I will instruct the Department of Education that Common Core ends today. In the days that follow, we will finally secure the borders and end sanctuary cities. There are 360 jurisdictions in this country that have declared themselves sanctuary cities. Every one of them is going to find their federal money cut off. We're going to find out which one liberal Democratic mayors value more, defying immigration law or receiving federal taxpayer money. And beyond that, we are going to stop releasing criminal illegal aliens. We are going to pass Kate's Law, and we are going to end welfare benefits for those here illegally. You know, there's some folks in the media who tell us we can't secure the borders. I got 3 words for them. Secretary Jeff Sessions. In the days that follow, we will rebuild the military. And we will honor the commitments made to our soldiers and sailors and airmen and Marines. And that includes protecting every serviceman and servicewoman's constitutional right to keep and bear arms. So the next time a jihadist walks into a recruiting center in Chattanooga, he's going to encounter the business end of firearms wielded by a dozen Marines. We will have a commander-in-chief who stands up and makes absolutely clear we will defeat radical Islamic terrorism. We'll have a commander-in-chief willing to utter the words radical Islamic terrorism. You know, after the Paris terror attack, President Obama said he was going to a Paris global warming summit because what a powerful rebuke to the terrorists that would be. What kind of numbskull thinks that the SUV in your driveway is a bigger threat to our security than a bunch of lunatics who want to kill us? We will not degrade, we will not weaken, we will utterly and completely destroy ISIS. Every militant on the face of the earth is going to understand if you go and join ISIS, if you take up arms and you wage jihad against America, if you attempt to murder innocent Americans, you are signing your death warrant. In the days that follow, we will take on the EPA. And the CFPB, and the alphabet soup of federal agencies that descend like locusts on small businesses, killing jobs all across this country. You know, a few years back, I was out in West Texas, and I asked folks there, I said, what's the difference between regulators and locusts? I said, well, the thing is, you can't use pesticide on the regulators. And this old West Texas farmer, he leaned back, said, "Want to bet?" And in the days that follow, I will go to Congress and we will pass fundamental tax reform. We will pass a simple flat tax. So that every American can fill out your taxes on a postcard. And when we do that, we should abolish the IRS. There are about 90,000 employees at the IRS. We need to padlock that building. Take all 90,000 and put them down on our southern border. Now, to our friends in the media, I say that somewhat tongue-in-cheek. But, if you think about it, imagine if you had traveled thousands of miles in the blazing sun. You're swimming across the Rio Grande. The first thing you see is 90,000 IRS agents. You turn around and go home too. Now, some of y'all may be thinking, all of this makes sense to me. It's basic common sense. Live within your means. Don't bankrupt our kids and grandkids. Follow the Constitution. But can it be done? Can we do it? Scripture tells us there's nothing new under the sun. I think where we are today is very, very much like the late 1970s. I think the parallels between now and the Jimmy Carter administration are uncanny. Same failed economic policies, same misery, stagnation, and malaise. The same feckless and naive foreign policy. In fact, the exact same countries, Russia and Iran, openly laughing at and mocking the President of the United States. Now, why is it that that analogy gives me so much hope and optimism? Because we know how that story ended. All across this country, millions of men and women rose up and became the Reagan Revolution. And it didn't come from Washington. Washington despised Ronald Reagan. By the way, if you see a candidate who Washington embraces, run and hide. It came from the American people and it turned this country around. We went from misery and stagnation and malaise to booming economic growth, to millions lifted out of poverty into prosperity and the American dream. We went from our hostages languishing in Iran to winning the Cold War and tearing the Berlin Wall to the ground. Why am I so optimistic? Because the same thing is happening again. All across Alabama, all across this country, people are waking up. When we launched this campaign, the New York Times promptly opined, Cruz cannot win because the Washington elites despise him. I kind of thought that was the whole point of the campaign. Listen, if you think things are going great in Washington, that we need to keep headed in the same basic direction, just kind of fiddle around the edges, then I ain't your guy. On the other hand, if you think Washington is fundamentally broken, that there is a bipartisan corruption of career politicians in both parties that get in bed with the lobbyists and special interests and grow and grow and grow Washington, and we need to take power out of Washington and back to we the people, that is what this campaign is all about. You want to know why I'm so optimistic? Look around you. Look around at the energy and passion and excitement coming from your neighbors, from your brothers and sisters and your friends. You know, Alabama is going to play a critical role in this year's Republican presidential primary. It starts off as it always does with the first 4 states: Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, Nevada. We've got incredible teams in those first 4 states. I believe we're poised to do very well in those first 4 states. But then, 10 days after South Carolina, boom, it's Super Tuesday. It's March 1st. It's the so-called SEC primary. Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Texas. Listen, Alabama and Texas, we agree on just about everything. Well, except football. And I'll tell you, the role that Alabama is going to play is ensuring that the next Republican nominee for president and the next president of the United States is going to be a strong conservative. The strength of this campaign is the grassroots, and so I want to ask every one of you to join us. Join us and stand with us. If you have your cell phone, I want to ask you, if you're willing to join us, to send a text. Send the word liberty to the number 41444. Let me give you that to you again. It's the word liberty to 41444. What that'll do is 2 things. Number 1, it'll sign you up to be part of our team on the ground all across Alabama, all across this country. But number 2, it'll give you an opportunity to also make a contribution online to help us communicate this message and spread a positive, optimistic, conservative message. How do we win in November 2016? We tell the truth, and we do it with a smile. Let me close with this. For all of us here, freedom is not some abstract concept that we read about in a school book. Freedom is real. It's personal. In our lives, in our families. You know, for me, I think about my dad. My dad was born in Cuba. He grew up in Cuba. And as a teenager, he fought in the Cuban Revolution. And he was imprisoned and tortured. When he was 17, he was lying on the floor of a Cuban jail cell, covered in mud and blood and grime. His nose was broken. His teeth were shattered out of his mouth. And he remembers thinking, I don't have any kids. Nobody depends on me. It doesn't matter if I live or I die. But thankfully, God had different plans for my father. He was released from that jail cell, and he fled and came to America in 1957. He was just 18 years old, couldn't speak English, had nothing, had $100 sewn into his underwear. I don't actually advise carrying money in your underwear. And he got a job washing dishes, making 50 cents an hour. And he worked 7 days a week. He paid his way through school. He and my mom together started a small business. So I grew up in Texas. As the son of two small business owners, we saw the ups and downs. We saw the triumphs and challenges of running a small business. Today, my dad is a pastor. He travels the country preaching the gospel. Now, my whole life, my dad has been my hero. But you know what I find most incredible about his story? How commonplace it is. Every one of us here, we have got a story just like that in our families. Some of us, it's us. Others, it's our parents. Others, it's our great-great-great-grandparents. But what ties every one of us together, every American, is we are the children of those who risked everything for freedom. And that's why I'm so optimistic. Because it is the fundamental DNA of every American to value freedom and opportunity above all else. You know, when I was a kid, my dad used to say to me over and over again, when we faced oppression in Cuba, I had a place to flee to. If we lose our freedom here, where do we go? That is why all of us are here today. Because we are not prepared to go quietly into the night. We are not willing to give up on our kids and grandkids. And I tell you this, if we stand together as one, if we defend freedom, if we defend the Constitution, if we defend the Judeo-Christian values on which America was built, if we stand as we the people, we will together bring back that last best hope for mankind, that shining city on a hill that is the United States of America. Thank you, and God bless you.